What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Billie Eilish's third album, Hit Me Hard and Soft. Billie is back, even though she really never went away. Billie's actually become incredibly ubiquitous in pop music, and look no further than her absolute domination at award shows, specifically the Grammys, where at 22 years old, she's already won 9 times. She's been nominated the last 5 Grammy Awards. And to really put a finer note on just how much of an awards darling and popular artist she won Song of the Year for What Was I Made For and Record of the Year for Everything I Wanted, two singles that were not part of her albums. Of course, Everything I Wanted, a loose single, What Was I Made For on the Barbie soundtrack last year. Even when Billie's in between albums, she's still getting tons of love. Of course, also winning Best Original Song at the Oscars 2 different times already. She really is just a force. And it's cool to see, I guess, because Billie remains very committed to her creative inner circle, which is writing and producing songs exclusively with her brother Phineas. That's still what this album is. That's still how Billie likes to move. And I think it's something you definitely respect just because it really sets her apart from a lot of her pop peers. Despite Billie's young age, it's pretty clear that she's gone through quite the artistic arc already, just thinking about what the last album sounded like in relation to the debut, and now what this new album sounds like in relation to the past two. Billie sonically has definitely changed where she first burst onto the scene. We're just not really getting the emo pop banger that we had on the debut album, the sound that really propelled her, right? We're not really in that mode anymore, except for a few moments. More than anything, we're really more in line with the second album, which is, very ballad heavy, very Billie vocals front and center, but it's usually pretty down tempo music. So I think you have to really be into that type of music and really be connecting with her lyrics. I think Billie has opened up a lot on the second album about her meteoric rise to fame at a young age and how that affected her in terms of just becoming immensely famous and what that entailed. And then this new album, Billie opening up about her sexuality and how that, kind of became an awakening for herself, and now she's putting that front and center. That's very clear in this album. Also, body image, of course, Billie's body image and her fashion and how those two things related over the years has been a huge talking point. And Billie's opening up on that more. The first song is literally called "Skinny," for example. Billie Eilish is still very interesting, and yet her third album, Hit Me Hard and Soft, it's more of the same from the second album's sound for the most part. I would say there's one clear highlight. Frankly, this is a song that makes the whole album worthwhile, and that would be Lunch. It's one of the best songs Billie has ever made. Lunch is a groovy bop, super up-tempo, really awesome bass line, complete banger, and yet it is the most overt gay sex jam I've heard in a long time. Like, no shots at Chappelle Roan, but Billie's gonna have a massive hit talking about eating a girl's box. This is crazy. But this song goes. This song, I think, is a contender for Song of the Summer. And Lunch really stands out because it's in stark contrast to the rest of this album, which is a lot more of what you're used to from Billie. A lot of piano ballads, a lot of really quiet, down-tempo songs. Yes, lyrically, there's things to be interested in. Billie talking about her sexuality, talking about her body image, but I think more often than not, a lot of these songs are not the most engaging songs in a vacuum. And I think it's those big crescendo moments that you get on songs here and there, songs like Chihiro or Blue, the last track. There's moments. But for me, this kind of falls in the same bucket as the second album, where it's I definitely appreciate certain songs with it, but as a full album, it's hard for me to connect to. And I really think that's just because I'm comparing it to the first album, which I like so much because to me it was so much more pop leaning, so much more engaging to me, just being a lot higher energy. And when Billie's not as high energy on most of the songs apart from Lunch, it just doesn't grab me as well. What Was I Made For? A song approaching 900 million streams on Spotify wins, the Oscar, wins the Grammy, right? That's not my Billie. That's not my mode. Obviously it's very much many people's mode when it comes to the Billie sound, but that's not really where I connect. Just kind of jumping through some of the other songs here. I think the first song, Skinny, I love the lyrical message of it. But really, it's a classic Billie ballad. It's a type of Billie song you've heard before. The orchestral outro touch towards the end of the song I thought sounded really nice. Chihiro. I love the song title. Of course, that's the reference to Spirited Away, the name of the lead character. Love that. Kind of nice, fun bass thumping, and then about 3 minutes in, the guitar kind of shows up for the first time. It's nice. But then this is where the album, to me, really drops off for 3 songs, Birds of a Feather, Wildflower, and The Greatest. Like these are quiet. These are tough songs for me. Wildflower, it's pretty acoustic. The Greatest really feels like a Billie song I've heard before. I just really cannot connect with those 3. It starts to pick back up though from here on out, where you have L'amour de ma vie, which definitely an interesting song in terms of recent Billie output, just because the instrumentation has a little bit more going on to it, and the beat like really flips almost into like 80s like Phil Collins for a split second, and then Billie starts dropping auto-tune lyrics on you. Like definitely not something she's done before. I'd be curious if she could explore that type of sonic lane in the future, just because she hasn't really done too much of that before. It's definitely interesting to me, but it's kind of like a one off in the course of this album here. The Diner. This is an interesting one. Not so much that like the song's amazing, but just like the beat, almost like a horror movie, like whistly vibe. It's a nod to the sound, the sonic sound of the first album. And I think that's why it's like, quote, interesting, even if the song itself to me doesn't fully come together. And the last 2 songs, Bittersweet, I enjoyed the bass line on this, kind of a fun, moody outro. And the last song, Blue, like really great snares, kind of up tempo again. And then a lot of big switch ups from Phineas on that one. But yeah, like I said, the highlight has to be Lunch. And it's such an outlier on this track list. But like, to me, that's one of the best songs I've heard this year. And like Billie's breath control during the verses is so great. An awesome performance from her. And you can almost like see the smile, hear the smile on her face as she's, singing these lyrics. It's really fun. The melody on that song to me, it is like that's when I think of Billie and Phineas as talented musicians, which of course they are. That's what I think of, because they have that kind of thing in their back pocket whenever they want. And clearly that kind of more, mainstream leaning sound, it's not something they're super interested in doing all the time, obviously, right? And it's funny to me that they're like, okay, fine, we'll do something for the radio. We have an instant hit here. We'll put it on the track list. We'll do the music video for it. But lyrically, it's still going to be very much in line with the premise of this album. And it's going to be very explicit about Billie trying to seduce a woman and eat her out. And I think that's amazing. So yeah, I mean, I think Billie Eilish, this is kind of status quo. Like, she's a massive star. She's about to go on an arena tour later in the year in support of this album. She's the real deal. And there's no doubt in my mind that she will be a Grammy presence once again, making it 6 Grammys in a row that she'll be nominated. That's a lock. Album of the year, probably a nomination, probably going head to head with Taylor Swift. Interesting battle. I'll be curious who else is in the mix for that. There's one thing that I'm like curious, and I know it'll happen eventually, right? Like in the Barbie soundtrack song, for example. Like there's evidence of this, but like I would love to just know what it's like when Billie works with someone besides Phineas, or Billie and Phineas work with other people as well. It's not they haven't done this before, but they don't do it often. Like, what does a Billie guest spot sound like? On someone else's song. Like, do any of those exist? Not many, right? I'm just curious. Phineas has worked with other people. We know what that's like. Like he's such a talented guy. He can be a chameleon. But Billie, like as a vocalist, I think it's a little untapped. And I think maybe that's part of the idea to like control the brand and keep it close knit. But I'd just be curious, like what else could happen, because she is, I think, pretty versatile as a vocalist, right? She can perform on all kinds of different songs, and of course, we know Phineas can basically do anything production wise. So, you know, she's only 22 years old. Like all of this will happen in time, but I feel like we've been through so much time already with Billie Eilish over the past 6-7 years or so that it's just funny to reflect on so much more to come in the future. And that I think just speaks to just how impressive her career has been to this point. And we know it's going to have a quite long tail to follow. But let me know, how did you feel about Billie Eilish's third album, Hit Me Hard and Soft? What was your first song? How would you like it in comparison to her last albums? What do you want to hear from her next? And for more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.